Hello there, my YouTube chums. Today I'm playing Swimmer, a coin-operated video game designed by Tekhan, which has since morphed into Tecmo, and published by the long-defunct Century. They defuncted specifically in 1985. The aim of the game is simple: swim upriver until one reaches the treasure island. While doing so, one must avoid obstacles, enemies, including some monstrously large crabs, and collect fruit. The controls are correspondingly simple. Swim left, swim right, slow down, speed up, and dive. There is no fruit juicing option. Thanks to the colourful graphics, instantly satisfying gameplay, and top tune, this is a very pleasant game to play. It also helps, of course, that I once swam the English Channel. Well, I once swam in the English Channel. Still, what a preposition between chums, eh? It all started when I was nearing the end of my time in the upper sixth. The Fortescue School for Boys had recently achieved a somewhat bittersweet draw in a boxing tournament against the Clutterbuck School for Fellows, and our sports and science master, Malty Milburn, had been in a quiet, contemplative mood ever since. One Friday morning in June, the hubbub of the common room was halted by the arrival of a breathless and rather red-faced Malty at the door. "Are you all right, sir? You look a little twangled." "Sorry, Norris. Twisted and mangled, sir. Twangled." "No, Norris," responded Malty, now regaining his breath a little. "I'm enthused and excited." By now, Malty had the attention of every boy in the common room. An enth-ited Malty always led to an enth-iting outcome. Malty continued, "Well, boys, you know that we now have breakfast television in the staff room." There were a few quiet grumbles around the room. The staff colour television set was the cause of some disgruntlement amongst the boys, who had been petitioning the headmaster for some time for an upgrade from the gramophone and crystal radio entertainment setup in the boys' common room. Malty wisely chose not to hear the grumbling and pressed on. "The breakfast show, Early Bird Britain, has been running summer features all month. Peanut rolling in Potter's Bar here, daisy chain making in Chichester there, and today the Daredevil Dippers in Dover. Those hardy souls who brave the freezing even in summer North Sea to swim to France. What an achievement that would be for the school. The Fortescue Flippers. Oh, a channel swim would be something that, for instance, Mr. Davenport Smythe's lot at Clutterbuck would not dare to attempt. They're not daft. But we are, sir. That's right, Norris, we are." Malty's enthusiasm was infectious, and soon 1,000 questions were buzzing in the air. Who, what, when, where, how? "Ah, yes, lads, the classic 4 W's and an H. I think it's called the 5 W's, sir, with the final letter of how making up the 5th W," piped up Tizer Tompkins. "Never heard anything so silly in all my life, Tompkins. Anyway, here's what we need to thrash out." At that point, Tizer suggested that we reconvene after school, as the bell had just sounded for morning lessons. All of us boys looked at him aghast. A chance to escape the books for once, and Tizer was unwittingly about to ruin it for us. "And what's today's first lesson, Tompkins?" "Sport, Mr. Milburn." "Right, and what's the second?" "Classics, sir." At this, Malty pulled out his whistle and blew. In a somewhat Pavlovian response, conditioned over the course of many years, we boys dropped as one into press-up position, and Malty counted. "Unus, duo, tres, quattro, quinque." "Right, lads, sports and classics lessons over. Let's get planning." And the plan we devised was this. There would be 2 swimmers, so that, in Malty's words, if one goes down the plug hole, drops down to Davy Jones' locker as it were, we have a spare. Rather than go on swimming ability and natural athleticism, which we all agreed would be discriminatory, we drew straws. Bunty and I drew the shortest straws, which meant we were the lucky ones. The rest of the boys were to stand on the shore and cheer us on, then hop on your hovercraft to Calais so they could cheer us on from the finish line, so to speak. Malty would man, and indeed captain, the support boat. "Oh, and none of that trendy training nonsense, boys. This is just a long swim. All it requires is backbone and a lot of splashing about in the water. I'll book the coach for tomorrow morning." And the boat, sir?" "The what, Norris?" "The support boat, sir, just to help us if we get into trouble." "Oh, goes without saying, Norris. Yes, sir, but I think it even goes better with saying, sir. And so there we were on that chilly Saturday morning, assembled on Shakespeare Beach, Dover. Bunty and I were fitting our goggles and caps, while the rest of the boys bailed water out of the support boat, which Malty had hired at a bargain price, readying it for the voyage ahead. "Well, I think we're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain, sir," said Bunty as he finished fitting his armbands. "I don't think so, Norris," responded Malty. "You need to butter yourself up first." "Sorry, Captain, sir, I don't follow. You want us to lavish insincere flattery upon ourselves in the hope of us being more agreeable to ourselves?" "No, Norris, I mean it literally," said Malty, tapping the barrel of butter on which he had been leaning, "for insulation against the perishing and frankly deadly cold of the sea." "Ah, sir, I see, Captain, sir. But isn't it meant to be goose fat, sir?" "Meant by whom? The Goose Fat Growing Society?" Before we had time to consider Malty's question, he was already speaking again. "No, lads, butter's what we need. It was butter that got us through rationing, and it's butter that'll get us through this. Butter's twice as good as goose fat, and a quarter of the price." Before we could butt any more butts, Bunty and I were fully buttered up and launching ourselves into the waves. To begin with, all went swimmingly. The wide cliffs to the rear of us, and the support boat to the left. All the boys were cheering, and Captain Milburn proudly hoisted the Fortescue school flag before turning to his megaphone to provide essential guidance. "Swim, lads! Swim some more! Keep swimming!" But all too soon, disaster struck. It was a three-pronged calamity, as if Poseidon himself were sticking his trident in, so to speak. Firstly, Malty was getting lower and lower. Despite the boys' best efforts to plug the support boat's ventilation holes, as Malty had called them, it was letting in water, fast. It was sinking. But that alone was not enough to discourage us. "Oh, right, lads, bit of a hiccup," said Malty, now swimming alongside us. But it's nothing that can't be overcome. I'll just support as I swim with you." Secondly, the seagulls seemed to take a sudden interest in Bunty and me, and came swooping and pecking at us from all sides. I was banking on a seagull-free day, boys. That is the only drawback with butter. Dover seagulls are partial to a bit of butter, having got a taste of it from Turret's chip butties. Thirdly, the tide had turned and was sweeping us back to shore. The terrible tides. I did read about this occasional phenomenon in the literature. Thought we'd just risk it anyway. Bunty and I didn't know what to be most concerned about. The sinking boat, the hungry gulls, the turning tide, or that Malty had consulted the literature. In the end, of course, it didn't matter. Our quest for glory was, for the time being at least, over. We all stood on the beach and watched as the Fortescue school flag was finally taken by the waves. "Never mind, lads. We gave it our best shot. And if we're quick, we can join the rest of the boys on the hovercraft. Might as well make a day of it anyway. Come on, boys. Let's carpe diem and vivon un peu, if you get my meaning." If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, tell your friends, like me. Until next time, this is Lord Fortescue saying, "Toodle Pipsy and abandon ship, my YouTube mateys."